Hello everybody, it's the War Hipster here, coming at you with another Contrast Plus painting tutorial, and today we are painting the absolutely magnificent Vizzik Skour. Yes, here he is, an enormous new model for the Skaven. He's very, 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 very big, and well, I'm very excited to paint him, and Games Workshop has sent him to me early to do just that with all of you. So we are going to jump in and we are going to get started. And well, he's been primed in Grey Seer. And the colour we're going to be using first is Ratling Grime. However, we are going to thin it down. So we're going to have 2 parts Ratling Grime to 1 part Lahmian Medium. And this is because, well, we've got quite large areas to deal with here. Now, we are going to be applying this over top of Vizzik's skirt, just like this. Now hopefully we can take it a section at a time, but because Ratling Grime can sometimes be a little bit temperamental, we're just going to half the mixture basically. So 2 parts Ratling Grime to 1 part Lahmian Medium. And we're just going to take this at a section at a time, a bit of patchwork here and there, and we're going to apply this over the top of the entire thing. Just like that. So take your time, be methodical, and we're going to go to the inside and the outside as well. There's not a lot of the inside that you can actually see, so that's okay. However, you will see, as we start to make our way around, the areas of the skirt get larger and larger. So with that Ratling Grime applied all the way around, as you can see, what we're now going to do is we're going to shade all of it. And we'll just start around here on the back actually, specifically down here. And we're going to shade it using some Athonian Camoshade. And here we can be a little bit sloppier. We've got a nice smooth base now. We just kind of want to almost just kind of throw this on. Of course, you want to be careful on the kind of more vertical bits because gravity is a thing here. And so it'll all sort of start to trickle down if you apply too much and it's all drippy. So just watch out for that. But otherwise, we just want to get this Athonian Camoshade over the top of all of that robe. And then once that's done, we'll come back. With all that Athonian Camoshade applied, what we're now going to do is we're going to take some Sigvald Burgundy and we're going to apply this over the top of Vizzik's tail. So with that done, just whilst we're waiting for it to dry, what we're going to do is we're going to take some Reikland Fleshshade, and we're going to apply this over the top of all of Vizzik's flesh and hair. So with all of that Reikland Fleshshade applied, we've actually left it to dry. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take some Skeleton Horde, and we're going to apply this over the top of Vizzik's fingers. Like so. Then we're going to wash the brush, and we're just going to give it a little bit of a blend into the hand, like that. Wash the brush. And give it the blends. I'm going to do this on both hands. However, we do also need to do the inside. Like that. Wash the brush. There we go. Perfect. So, what we're also going to do with the Skeleton Horde, however, is we're going to apply this over the top of Vizzik's horns. And the thing to do here is to just, as I'm doing, just kind of follow it around. In many ways, just let the horn guide you. With all of that Skeleton Horde applied, just whilst we're waiting for it to fully dry, what we're going to do is going to take some Druchii Violet. I'm going to use this to shade the tail. And so with that done, we're then going to take some dreadful Visage, and we're going to apply this over top of Vizzik Flesh. Just like that. Don't have to worry about getting it in all the hair or whatever. Mostly just focusing here on the skin. With all that dreadful Visage applied, we're then going to take some Guilliman Flesh, and we're going to apply this over these kind of large rents in the flesh at the back here. With that all done, what we're now going to do is we're going to take some Wyldwood, and we're going to apply this over top of all of Vizzik's hairs. So with that all done, our next port of call is to take some Gore-Grunta Fur, and we're going to apply this over top of his claws and his hoof. So with that all done, what we're now going to do is we're going to take a roughly 4 parts Flesh Tearers Red to 1 part Lahmian Medium mix. And we're going to apply this over top of the outside of his scarf. And much like when we were doing his skirt, you can just take this a section at a time. However, the reason we thinned it down is there are some rather large sections, like this one here. So with that all done, just whilst we're waiting for that to dry, what we're going to do is we're going to take a roughly 4 parts Wyldwood to 1 part Lahmian Medium mix. And we're going to start with our blending on the horns. So we want to apply it all over the top of the tip of this one, like so. And bring it all the way along. And then we're going to bring it all the way along this one. Like so. And then this is the section of the horn that's left. And what we want to do is we want to leave about a third. So we're going to, from here, apply the Wyldwood up to around about there. Like that. Make sure we got the underside as well. Then we're going to wash the brush, touch off the water. Then we're just going to blend it into the skeleton horde so it transitions around that corner like that. You just want to make sure that you get the inside of the horn. Like that. Wash the brush and just make sure that we're blended on the back as well. And that is essentially what we're going to do across all of the horns. So the Wyldwood is going to cover roughly 2/3 of each one. So with all that blending done on the horns, the red scarf is now ready for some shading. So what we're going to do is we're going to take some Carroburg Crimson and we're going to apply this all over the top. I realise this is probably part of his priestly vestments, but it makes me happy to call it a scarf. Just whilst we're waiting for all that to dry, what we're going to do is we're going to take some Black Legion and we're going to apply this over the top of his pauldrons and the two little horns on his forehead that we haven't done. And so with that all done, it's now time to add a bit of secret sauce. Well, it's not that secret, but what we're going to do is we're going to take some Black Templar and we're going to thin it down. So it's going to go for a 1-to-1 mix of Black Templar and Lamia Medium. And we're going to be doing a fair bit of blending here. So what we're going to do is on the scarf, we're going to apply this mix at the bottom, like so. I'm going to bring it up here as well. Just like that. And then we're going to bring it up that bit there, that bit there, and then we want to go to around about just over halfway up here. Like that. Then we're going to wash the brush, touch off the water, then we're going to blend it up into the rest of the scarf, like that. And we're going to do the same thing on the other side. However, it's a little bit easier this one, because what we want to do, basically want to bring it up like that, over the shoulder, in there like that. And we don't need to really bring it down, but what we can do is we can just bring it a little bit over the top, like that, wash the brush, touch off the water, and then blend it down like that. Nice and simple. Just missed a bit. There we go. What we're also going to do is we're going to do this over the top of the horns as well. So we want to bring it all the way down like that, over a third. Like so. And then I'm going to bring it over the top of that little bit of string, wash the brush, touch off the water, and then blend it into the brown. Like that. I'm going to do that across all of the horns. And finally, what we're going to do with the Black Templar is we're going to use this to pick out a couple of the panels in our clothes. So, for example, we've got this one just here. Then we're going to apply this over. Like that. You can kind of pick and choose whichever ones you want, but we just kind of want to add a little bit of variation to the cloak effectively. So I'm going to go for this one next. Like that. And we'll do some on the front as well. So with that all done, our next colour is going to be some Gryph-Hound Orange. And we're going to apply this over top of Vizzik's eyes. Just like that. And with that Gryph-Hound Orange applied, we're then going to take some Carroburg Crimson. And we're going to apply this inside Vizzik's ears and over the top of his tongue. With that then done, we're going to take some Agrax Earthshade and we're going to apply this over the top of the inside of Vizzik's scarf. So with that all done, we're now going to use two colours, Skeleton Horde and Gryph-Charger Grey. I'm going to use these over the top of the staff. So we're going to start by taking some Skeleton Horde. And we're going to apply this, just like this. And then we're going to wash the brush. Touch off the water, grab some Gryph-Charger Grey. And then starting where the Skeleton Horde ends, overlapping the two a little bit, we're going to bring the Gryph-Charger Grey down, like that. Then we're going to wash the brush, grab some Skeleton Horde once again, bring it down into the Gryph-Charger Grey, for example, like that. Then we're going to make our way round the other side of the staff. And we just want to do this on the underside of his hand for now. Back to the Gryph-Charger Grey. So before we move any further, I've actually just lost the it didn't record basically. What we've done is we've taken some Skeleton Horde and we've applied it over the top of this kind of sheath thing, and we've taken Wyldwood and we've applied it in there to the hair as well. And on the top up here of the what's name, the staff, we've done the same thing that we did down here, only we did it with Skeleton Horde and Wyldwood. It's exactly the same process. Use a Skeleton Horde and then apply the Wyldwood and then blend them two together. But it's important just to cover that because we missed it. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take some Cygor Brown and we're going to apply this over the top of all of our little kind of bits of leather and straps and stuff. Now on the box art, some of this is done in a kind of pale, kind of almost white type thing, but I don't really like it, so I'm just changing that. So we're just going to use Cygor Brown to do all of this. Keeps things a little bit simpler at least. And it sort of stays within the colour palette a little bit more. So we're going to do this across the entirety of the model. And then once that's done, we'll come back. So with that all done, what we're now going to do is we're going to take some Skeleton Horde. We're going to apply this over top of Vizzik's teeth. And we're going to apply this over top of all of the skulls scattered around the model. And then next up, we're going to take some Dark Angel's Green. I'm going to apply this over top of all of the warp stone. Now, there's all kinds of it scattered around. So just be on the lookout. A lot of it is embedded into his armor. And his belt. But there is one little rat that's holding a little rock. On his shoulder. So with that all done, we're now going to take 3 colours. Black Legion, Ratling Grime and Wyldwood. And we're going to be using these across all of the rats. Now we're kind of just alternating here. So we're just going to start here with some Ratling Grime. We're going to apply it all over top of this little rat. Just like that. I'm going to wash the brush. Absorb that excess Ratling Grime. And then we're going to go for Wyldwood next. I'm going to apply it over the top of these 2 little rats. Like that sort of thing. And then we're going to take some Black Legion. We're going to apply them over this rat. And so on and so forth. Like I said, you just want to kind of alternate between all of your colours. Get some really nice variation across all of our vermin. And next up, we're going to take some Gore-Grunta Fur. We're going to apply this over the top of the tusks on this skull over here. And then next up, we're going to take some Carroburg Crimson, and we're going to apply this over the top of all of our little rat tails. with that all done, we're actually going to do a little bit more shading before we do all the metallics, because that's the last kind of base coating that needs to happen. But before we do that, what we're going to do is we're going to take some Athonian Camoshade, and we're going to apply this over the top of the staff. And with that then done, we're going to take some Nuln Oil. We're going to use this over the top of the black part of the scarf, as well as the bits that we blackened on his dress. And with that done, we're then going to take some Reikland Fleshshade, and we're going to use this to shade the horns. So with that all done, what we're now going to do is we're going to take some thinned down Iron Warriors, and we're going to apply this over the top of all of his metallic details. And as always with the Skaven, there is going to be another metallic, but we're just going to use the Iron Warriors first to get a good base down. So with all that Iron Warriors applied, what we're then going to do is we're going to take some thinned down Runelord Brass, and we're going to apply this over the top of various different little details. So we're going to be applying this over the top of the panels of these large triangle pieces, up here and on the back, like that sort of thing. We're going to be applying this over the top of the trim of the belt and of the weapon. We're going to apply this over the top of all of the little hanging triangle trinkets, and we're going to apply this over the top of the hanging bells, like that. And then up here on the staff, we want to apply this around the kind of circle bit, but not the triangle in the middle. With all that Runelord Brass applied, we're then going to take some Gryph-Hound Gryph-Hound Orange. And we're going to apply this over top of all of the bells. Like that. And like that. Sort of thing. But what we're also going to do is up here on our kind of sort of triangly bit is we're going to apply the Gryph-Hound Orange over the top of the spike. Like that. Then we're going to wash the brush, touch off the water, and we're just going to blend it just a little bit. Into the brass, like so. So with all that done, we're now going to shade all of the metallics using some Agrax Earthshade. So with that all done, Vizzik Skour is now what I would call a war hipster battle ready, and he's looking pretty cool. However, we're not going to leave him there, of course not. We're going to take him to the next level, and we're going to do this by adding some highlights. Now the first of these is going to be a dry brush, and it's going to be some Karak Stone. And we're going to use this to dry brush actually quite a lot of the models. So we're going to use this over the top of all of the Wyldwood fur. Just like that sort of thing. We're going to use this to dry brush his skirt. Like that sort of thing. And we're going to use this to dry brush the horns. We just want to be really gentle across the horns. Just like that sort of thing. Convenient as well because we'll pick up most of our little brown leather bits as well. With all that Karak Stone dry brushing done, what we're then going to do is we're going to take some Screaming Skull dry brushing, and we're going to use this over the top of the palest parts of the horns. Just like that. With that Screaming Skull dry brush applied, we then want to take some Ionrach Skin. I'm going to use this to dry brush the cloak. Again, just very gently. Around the sharpest parts. So with all that dry brushing done, what we're now going to do is we're going to take some thinned down Pallid Witch Flesh, and we're going to use this to highlight all of Vizzik's skin, including his pinky ears and his yellow hands. With all that Pallid Witch Flesh applied, we're then going to once again take some thinned down Screaming Skull. And we're going to use this now to highlight Vizzik's teeth, as well as all of the skulls scattered around the model. So with that Screaming Skull all applied, we're then going to take a tiny little dot of Lugganath Orange. I'm going to use this over the top of the eyeball of Vizzik. With that all done, we're then going to take some thinned down Skrag Brown, and we're going to use this to highlight the claws and the hoof. So with that all done, we're then going to take some thinned down Deathclaw Brown, and we're going to use this to add some little spot highlights to the claws and the hoof. So with that all done, what we're now going to do is we're going to take some thinned down Stormvermin Fur, and we're going to use this to highlight all of our black details. So this is going to include the armor, and the blackened areas of the scarf, as well as the little spikes and things in the tail. With all that Stormvermin Fur applied, we're then going to take some thinned down Administratum Grey, and we're going to use this to add some little spot highlights to all those black details. We're just going to pick out the sharpest corners . Just like that sort of thing. So with that all done, our next job is going to be to take some thinned down grey Seer. And we're going to use this to effectively relayer these sigils on the staff. And with that grey Seer all applied to the staff, what we're then going to do is take some thinned down Deepkin Flesh. And we're going to use this to add some highlights to the wood of the staff. And so with that all done, we're then going to take some thinned down Slaanesh Grey. I'm going to use this to highlight the tail. So with that Slaanesh Grey all applied, we're then going to take some thinned down Pink Horror. And we're going to use this to highlight the red. So with that all done, what we're now going to do is we're going to do some freehand, and there's rather a lot of it. So we'll have noticed that up the scarf on the box art we have a lot of little kind of Skaven sigils. So we're going to be copying them, and the colour we're going to be using to do so is some thinned down Morghast bone. So what we're going to do is we're just going to make sure that we've got our box art, and we're actually just going to start right at the top here, and we are going to begin by painting in this kind of anchor symbol that is at the top. So we're going to start just here, and we're going to bring it down to just over that highlight line, like that. And then we're going to do the next part of the anchor, starting just there. And bring that down. Like so. Then we're going to sort of tidy those up just a little bit. So we're going to just kind of widen them out. Just like that. Then we're going to draw a straight line coming down. Like that. And then over the top of this fold, we're going to draw a little kind of square. like that. And then we're going to bring it up. Like that. And over the top of the tear in that fabric. And once we've got the design kind of traced out, we now just need to widen it out again. Like this sort of thing. This is going to take some time, so just be careful. Keep going. And again, you can do as much or as little of this as you like. But once it's done, we'll come back. So with that all done, he's looking very nearly finished. There is still a couple of things left to do, but, well, it looks absolutely fantastic. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take some thinned down Evil Sunz Scarlet. I'm going to use this to pick out all of the eyes of our little tiny rats. And so with that done, what we're then going to do is we're going to take some Tesseract Glow. And we're going to use this in the cracks of his armour. And with that Tesseract Glow all applied, we're then going to take some thinned down Moot Green. And we're going to use this to highlight all the Warp Stone. And so with that all done, what we're now going to do is we're going to take some thinned down Ironbreaker. I'm going to use this to highlight all the silver. You don't have to worry about highlighting the chainmail. We want that to be a little bit darker. And with all that Ironbreaker applied, we're then going to take some thinned down Canoptek alloy. I'm going to use this to highlight all of our Runelord Brassy bits and our bits that we did with Gryph-Hound Orange. So with that all done, Vizzik Skour is now finished. So what we're going to do is we're going to very quickly work on his base. So, the colour we're going to be using first. None of this should be a surprise if you've been following along with the Skaven videos, but the colour we're going to be using first is Dark Angel's Green, and we're just going to be applying this over top of all of the swirly stuff under there. With all that Dark Angel's Green applied, we're then going to take some Wyldwood and we're going to apply this over the top of the ruptured soil. And with that all done, we're then going to take some black Templar and we're going to apply this over the top of all of the rocks. And with that then done, we're going to take some Black Legion and we're going to apply this over top of the wood. Before we go any further with the base, there's actually one thing we forgot to do, which is take some blood for the blood god. And we're going to apply this inside the runic scarring. So with that now done, we did actually apply Black Legion to all of our little ratties on the base. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take some Carroburg Crimson. We're going to apply this over the top of all of their tails. So with that then done, we're going to take some thinned down Iron Warriors and we're going to apply this over the top of all of our metallic details on the fallen sinking structure. And so with all that Iron Warriors applied, we're then going to take some Tesseract Glow. And we're going to apply this over the top of the swirly swirlies. And so with that done, our final thing that we're going to do is we're going to take some Agrax Earthshade, and we're going to use this to shade all the silver. And the reason I say this is the final thing we're going to do is because, well, after this we're going to add some Sterling Mud and dry brush the whole base with some Tyrant Skull, which we've done many times before. So we're not going to film it. But that is how we finish things off here. With that Tyrant Skull, dry brush and some Gamer's Grass tufts added, Vizzik Skour is now finished, and well, he's come together really nicely. The ugly stage sits around for a little too long whilst painting him, but once you get those couple of highlights on and all the shading is done, he absolutely looks fantastic, and I'm really pleased with how that scarf has come out. Those runes, man. I'm just going to pat myself on the back, you know. If you enjoyed this video, you love the channel, and you'd like to support me further, you absolutely can do so by heading to patreon.com/warhipster, just like all of these wonderful, amazing people have done. And alternatively, you could become a YouTube channel member by clicking on the join button below, exactly like these fabulous folks have done, scrolling up on the screen before you. There are so many of you out there that it really takes my breath away, and I cannot thank you enough for everything you do, as without you I wouldn't be able to keep making these Contrast Plus videos. And if you really like this video and you want to send me a little thanks, just click on the thanks button just below this video. Don't forget to share it, like it, comment on it, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and to make sure you stay up to date, don't forget to click the bell icon. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all very soon in the next one. Happy wargaming.